South Africa's unemployment rate, that's where I'm going next, down by 0.8 percentage points to 34.5% in the first quarter from 35.53 in the fourth quarter, according to data released by Statistics Office on Tuesday. The labor force report shows that the total number of persons employed was about 14.9 million in January to March. Now, let me speak to the jobs data and look at the other headwinds that South Africa currently faces on its journey to a stronger economic growth out of the virus pandemic and the Ukrainian crisis. My guest tonight on this is Chris Hart, the executive chairman at Impact Investment Africa. Chris, it's good to see you again. Good evening. I'm so happy with the unemployment figure, because when this was around 35% late last year, we were all getting worried what will happen. Give me your first word. How did this happen, this latest job report?
Well, I think firstly, it would be very encouraging if we saw the peak in the last quarter of above 35% for the narrow definition of unemployment. The unemployment rate is catastrophically high. It's at a level that certainly has the ability to destabilize the country, and I think we've seen some of that, in last year. If we go back 10 years, the unemployment rate was 23%. In other words, it's still 12% higher now than it was 10 years ago. So this has been an upward trend for a long, long time, and South Africa's unemployment is unusually high, and it's gone against a trend in the rest of the world over the same period of time, suggesting that the reason we've got high unemployment and rising unemployment is in fact endogenous. And in other words, it was due to local conditions, not international conditions. And that basically is a testimony to economic policies that are really failing in South Africa. But I think from a COVID perspective, South Africa is getting back to work, as it were, and you can see the economy is a lot more vibrant. The traffic jams are back, if you like, and people are out and about, really. And I think we can probably over the next few quarters still see a further decline in the unemployment rate, as the economy at least reflects some recovery over the past, you could say almost the disaster of unemployment that we've seen over the past 2 or 3 years in particular.
Yes, so Chris, is everyone happy about the latest job reports in the business and investment circuit?
Well, I think if one looks at the change, the fact that it came down is very encouraging. The fact that it's still at these types of levels still is something that is extremely worrisome. Unemployment should and has to be the highest priority, in all sorts of policy things, policy decisions. But when you see that doesn't seem to be the case, in other words, there's a lot of other issues that seem to take preference over the unemployment issues, whether it's labor laws or even climate change laws, etc. All of these things do not defer to unemployment, which suggests that there does need to be a rethink in terms of how things go. The government-driven heavy interference in the economy is not serving the people of South Africa well, because it's reflected in this unemployment rate. It's not, I think, as I've reflected many times, a lot of barriers to entry for investors in the economy, particularly small to medium enterprises. The red tape is exceptionally harsh, with costs imposed on businesses in South Africa that are imposed nowhere else in the world. These things are easy to reverse, and if they are reversed, I think we'll see unemployment rate come down quite quickly. The South African economy is in fact a fairly resilient economy, and we've got a very capable private sector, but a state sector that is really struggling to actually do any delivery.
But if we unpack the latest jobs report for the first quarter, Chris, give me an idea of what sectors contribute the most and where do we still have the laggards in terms of sectors that should create more jobs to bring that figure back significantly. 34.5 is still very, very highly elevated, you'll agree.
That's very high. What we're seeing is that there's quite a lot of encouraging investments and investor interest in sectors like agriculture, which is a very good employer, and your tourism sector is starting to come back. That's your hotels and restaurants, and that these sectors are actually able to absorb quite a lot of people quite quickly. And I think as these sectors start to come back, the agriculture actually fared quite well throughout the COVID pandemic. It actually held up as far as employment is concerned, but we also are seeing quite a lot of new investment in agriculture. So it's very likely to see a continuance of unemployment, although that sector is quite volatile because of seasonality of workers and that. But the hotel and restaurant industry is coming back. I think manufacturing is still struggling, but I think we're going to see quite a bit of some revival in manufacturing as the COVID lessons have been that even if it costs more to produce locally, there's a strategic reason to actually bring manufacturing back, and I think that's going to help. But again, the actual productive sectors, mining is also doing well at the moment because of high commodity prices. That's buoying up the unemployment. But these are cyclical industries. When we see a downturn, those jobs won't necessarily hold. We do need to see a massive expansion of the economy so that millions more can be absorbed into the economy.
South Africa, Chris, South Africa is known as one of Africa's top 3 tourism, hospitality hub. Yes. So is that industry recovering by any stretch of imagination? Is it trying to get out of the COVID-19 pandemic hard fall of 2020 and 2021?
So the answer to that is yes. We are seeing a recovery. As far as airline passenger loads are concerned, that is picking up. The domestic air travel is also picking up, but again, we've still got the local airlines that are still struggling from a point of view of actually keeping viable, and these were airlines that were actually quite robust going into the COVID pandemic. The actual costs of the lockdown were very asymmetric in terms of how they were absorbed, and the tourism sector was one of those that was hardest hit, and I call it uncompensated costs. And so it is the sector that is recovering last, and we hope that we will start seeing a sustained and robust recovery for the next 2-3 years. I think there is a lot of pent up travel demand of people that have delayed travel, and I think there's a demand for that to recover over the next few years. It really is going to be on the recovery side, and probably a very good sector to invest in at the moment.
We have just about a minute to wrap this up, Chris Hart. Thank you so much. But what about issues around oil prices, petrol prices, high energy shortage with Eskom and all the other headwinds? Do you think these vulnerabilities would hinder the ability to create more jobs and depress that figure from 34.5 in the first quarter? When we finish this month of June, we'll be talking about second quarter jobs report. Give me your outlook.
Yeah, the problem is these are headwinds, and of course the Reserve Bank is almost forced to raise interest rates to deal with the high inflation that's coming. But of course that goes into the jobs recovery. So we're not expecting the jobs recovery to be fairly significant. It's going to be at the margin rather than in the substance, and that it'll still remain above 30% for quite a few years because of not the headwinds are contributing to it, but it's, as I say, it's more top-level policy issues that really need to be overhauled.
We appreciate your perspectives on the South African jobs market and issues around fuel, energy, and others such issues. Thank you so much. Have a great evening. Chris Hart, the Executive Chairman at Impact Investment Africa. See you next time.